All right, Larry Kruger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krueg Show with a little 49er video. As today we look at Jason Pinnock, one of the underrated additions of the offseason, was the former Pitt Panther corner, who's now a jack-of-all-trades, safety corner, nickel corner in the Niners secondary. One of the best pickups of the offseason. We'll do a deep dive on Jason Pinnock coming up next. First, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. We're also brought to you by Claw Daddy Arcades. They're a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. When you stop by, tell them Larry Kruger sent you. They got a brand new location opening in the South Bay at Capitola Mall later on this year, and also Visalia Mall down in the Central Valley. Claw Daddy Arcades. Thanks to Claw Daddy for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. Links are in the description for all of our sponsors. Let's talk a little bit about Jason Pinnock. You know, it's funny. Robert Saleh, this was his handpicked guy. And Robert Saleh's called him the next Jimmy Ward. And there's a lot of comparisons between Jimmy Ward and Jason Pinnock. And I think it's really probably not just one of the Niners' best moves of the offseason. I think this might be one of the best moves by any team in the offseason. Let's talk a lot about Pinnock. Pinnock's a 26-year-old defensive back, 6 feet, 205 pounds, great athlete, truly great athlete. Was a great athlete at Pitt. I saw him at Pitt. He was a really good player. He was a very good corner at Pittsburgh. He ran 4.49 in the 40 coming out, had a 39.5-inch vertical, and is just a terrific all-around athlete. His athletic score, you know, as I said, he ran 4.49. Saleh wanted to add speed in the secondary, and Pinnock provides exactly that. As I said, 4.49, but 98th percentile athletic profile for Jason Pinnock. Very, very athletic player. John Lynch did an interview recently with Matt Mayoko and said that, you know, Saleh loved to coach Pinnock, coached him his rookie year with the Jets, helped him make that transition from college corner to NFL safety. And Lynch called him, you know, a really good athlete and an ascending player, and thinks that the Niners got a screaming great deal when you look at what they paid him and what he potentially can contribute. So, I love this player, and I have for years, and I'm so glad the Niners have him. So he was at Pittsburgh. He was a fifth-round pick in the 2021 draft by the Jets and played his rookie year with the Jets and then played his last 3 seasons with the New York Giants. And, you know, why is he here? He came here because he knows the system, and he wanted to have some career continuity, and he wanted to reunite with Saleh, a guy who he really knows well, and he knows his system well, and he believes, you know, in Pinnock, and Pinnock subsequently believes in Saleh. So, you know, you're talking about a player who was a college corner who's transitioning to safety, and because of that, that in and of itself is enough of a transition to be complicated. So he wants to be in a system that he knows. He's if you saw the interview that Mayoko did with Pinnock, and it was a really good one, Pinnock basically admitted to Maddie that the real reason he wanted to be here is that he wanted some continuity. He's had to learn 3 different systems over the last 3 years, and it's very complicated to learn a new system. So he wanted to have a system that he fit in. He wanted to be around a guy who knew him, who knew how to utilize him, and he's been utilized in different ways, and we'll point that out throughout the bulk of this video. He's an interesting kid. He was born in Windsor, Connecticut, and went to the University of Pittsburgh, and he was a really good corner at Pittsburgh. Tough, aggressive corner. And then in the NFL, you know, when he's basically just trying to get on the field, and so he gets drafted as a corner, but he's not the fastest corner. But he had good size, and he's a smart guy. Really football smart. So he fit the characteristics of the kind of corner that potentially could transition to safety, and Saleh transitioned him to safety. Now, he was cut by the Jets, and then he went to the New York Giants, and he played in a different system with the New York Giants under Wink Martindale. And the one thing that he brought up in the interview with Mayoko is that when he went to the Giants, he really learned how to blitz. And that's where he's really, really good. But in Wink Martindale's defense, Wink used him as a blitzer. He started every game for the Giants the last 2 years. And he was asked, what's your mindset? Now you're a Niner. He's like, man, I just want to come in. I want to be a sponge. I want to soak up the game. He's got a high football IQ, but he also wanted to go to a system that he knew. And he's playing a safety. He's playing a safety position in this defense that he's very familiar with. He's a young guy. He was drafted at the age of 20. So even though he's got a number of years of NFL experience as a 4-year vet, he's still, in his mid-20s. So he talked about how, the Niners offense is a real challenge to go against in practice. He said, man, the shifts and the motions and everything, it has to be, everything that you have to defend in that offense is complicated. He said he got his passion for football from his dad. He calls football the ultimate team sport. All 11 guys have to operate as one. He mentioned how he really loves Robert Saleh because he loves Saleh's passion for the game. And he said, I want to come here. I want to show that I can, he wants to show people that he's a true ball hawk. And he made it perfectly clear. His goal is real clear. Jason Pinnock wants to be a day one starter at safety for the 49ers. Really as simple as that. I think the Niners signing Pinnock is one of the most underappreciated signings of the offseason. So everybody uses their safeties a little differently. I think this guy is best as a defensive chess piece. He can play the slot. He can play a true safety role. He can play a safety role down the field if you want him to be the deep third coverer in the cover 3 zone. He's got the coverage ability to play that deep middle. He can play in the box. I mean, for Saleh to compare him to Jimmy Ward, I think that's a great comparison because Jimmy could do all these things at a high level. He could play the slot. He could play in the box. He could play the field. The thing about Pinnock, you can line him up over a tight end. You can line him up over a wide receiver. He can cover a back out of the backfield. Last year, he earned a pass rush grade of 92.3, best among all safeties in the NFL. So I'm going to share the screen, and Kev Kruger put this out on Twitter. The great Kev Kruger tweeted this. He said, interesting stat on 49ers new DB, Jason Pinnock. He says, Pinnock rushed the passer 18 times in 2024, and it ended up in only 18 pass rushes, 7 pressures, and 3 sacks. And as I just said, 92.3 PFF pass rush grade. That was first in the NFL among all safeties. That's tremendous. If you look at the top graded pass rushing safeties, according to PFF, you think of who the best safeties in pro football. Kyle Hamilton, number 2. Brian Branch, number 3. Antoine Winfield Jr. with Tampa, number 5. Derwin James with the Chargers, number 6. Josh Metellus with the Vikings, who's one of the great blitzers, one of the great pass rushing safeties, 8th. Number 1 top graded pass rushing safety, according to PFF, Jason Pinnock, number 1. Over Kyle Hamilton, over Brian Branch, over Cam Curl, over Antoine Winfield. That's saying something, man. That is really saying something. So the 49ers, I think, get a very, very under-the-radar type player. He's a great blitzer, and you're going to see Robert Saleh use this guy close to the line of scrimmage as a jack-of-all-trades chess piece, and he's going to be one of these guys that shows up in all these exotic blitzes that help the 49ers put some heat on the quarterback. So last year he played for the Giants, as I mentioned before. The defensive coordinator for the Giants was Shane Bowen, the former Titans defensive coordinator. Bowen used Pinnock as a traditional safety, and he was in the box a lot. I mean, he was in the box. He was a traditional safety. He had a good year. He was productive, 85 tackles, 3 sacks, but he was way better in 2023 under the Giants' old defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale, who used him, as I said, kind of like a defensive chess piece. He was all over the place, right? He didn't use him in a traditional manner. He used him in a very versatile role. And in 2023, Pinnock had his best pro season: 85 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 interceptions. He had a pick 6. He had 2 forced fumbles. I think potentially he could look really, really good this summer and this fall in Robert Saleh's defense. Saleh was the guy that helped Pinnock transition from safety to corner. Saleh was the guy that wanted him in this offseason to begin with. And you heard Lynch say it. Lynch was like, hey, this was a guy Saleh really wanted. And once again, in 2023, Jason Pinnock was the NFL's 3rd highest graded safety across the board, number 1 pass rushing safety. What I love about this player is he's smart. He's smart, man. You got to have safeties that are smart. Intelligence is the number 1 trait of a safety in the modern game. It's not speed, because if you don't know which way you're going, you're just further away from the play. This guy's smart. If you watch his film, and I would encourage all of you guys to put on the film, what you're going to see is rare and outstanding play recognition pre-snap. This is a high IQ player. This is a guy who's in his playbook. This is a guy who's in his tendencies. This is a guy who knows the formations, knows what they're likely to run out of different formations, and is a heady player. He shows up on game day with not just his body, he shows up with his mind. He's got excellent play recognition. He's got excellent ball skills. Now, one of the things that I think there's even improvement to come here, and I've heard Pinnock refer to it, he had great interception production in college at Pittsburgh. He's had great ball skills as far as PBUs, pass breakups in the NFL, but where he wants to take it to that next level is he thinks that he can turn some of his PBUs into INTs. He's really a great fit for the 49ers. Why? Because the Niners prefer to play a lot of zone coverages, and this is a guy who is fantastic in zone. Why? Because he's got great awareness and he's got great anticipation. He's got a very high IQ player. So his play recognition is off the charts, and he is a true ball hawk. And I think there's a very good likelihood that Jason Pinnock is better in San Francisco than he was in his previous stops with the Jets and Giants. Why? Because the Niners have better defensive talent surrounding him. They've got good corners. They've got 3 good corners. They've got a really strong linebacking core. Fred Warner's one of the best going. And they've got a remade defensive line, but it's a pretty good defensive line, I think. We'll find out when the season gets going. But I think he's going to be better in San Francisco. 1, because Saleh knows how to use him. He's familiar with the scheme. This is a scheme that fits him, and the talent surrounding him is much better. He's also really good against the run. So he's an excellent player in the box. I saw some of the film from last year where he was attacking James Conner from Arizona as a run defender, and this guy sees it, knows his formations, is in his playbook, and he's anticipating the play before the snap. And there was a couple run plays where he just got in the backfield, knifed in, had the courage that he was, all, as Robert Saleh likes to famously say, all gas, no brakes. Right? This guy saw what he saw, he trusted what he saw, and he let it go. And he knocked down James Conner with a couple solo tackles in the backfield. Conner's one of the biggest, toughest, hardest backs to bring down with a solo tackle, and this converted corner was doing it. But the number one reason, so he's good against the run, he's good against the pass. The Niners play a lot of zone. He's really good in zone. He's very versatile. You can use him in the slot. You can use him in the box. You can use him down the field. Why do I like him a ton? He's super competitive. Very competitive player. Some guys show up for the girls. Some guys show up for the glory. Some guys show up for the greenbacks. You got to find the guys who show up to get the W. There are guys that play for the win, and then guys who play for other reasons. This guy plays to beat you. He shows up to win the game. He's very competitive. He was very competitive at Pitt. He carved a role for himself in the NFL despite being not a high priority day 1 or day 2 pick. And he is a tone setter on defense. He's competitive, and he is a tone setter. He plays with physicality, and he plays with smarts. And this is one of the best pickups the Niners have had this entire offseason. Now, if we share the screen and take a look at the 49er defensive backfield depth chart, we'll take a quick gander at that. And what you're going to see is at safety, they list Malik, Mustapha, and Ji'Ayir Brown. Those are the starting safeties. But Brown's coming off an injury, didn't play at the end there in the mandatory OTAs. Mustapha has got an injury to his knee that was reported late. He's almost assuredly not going to be ready for week 1. So the Niners, even though the first team safeties are Ji'Ayir Brown and Malik Mustapha, I would say it's 50-50 whether either of the Niners starting safeties is ready week 1. So they got to have ready-made backups. And give John Lynch and the personnel department credit because they did put together a very deep safety room. Because you got Richie Grant and you got Jason Pinnock sitting there, and those guys can start right away. If there is no Ji'Ayir Brown and there is no Malik Mustapha in week 1, that's all right. The Niners can get by with Richie Grant, Jason Pinnock, and Marquise Siegel. George Odom is a Pro Bowl special teamer. You also have Jalen Mahoney. And you also have some bigger corners, guys like Saron Neal, who might be able to give you some snaps at safety as well. But I think they're pretty fortified. I mean, there's some people there, hey, go sign this guy, go sign that guy. And that Justin Simmons is out there. There's a lot of talk that he may wind up in Philadelphia. Believe it or not, Philly is looking for a safety, and Simmons may wind up going there. He played for Fangio in Denver. If he's going to go anywhere, my guess is he rejoins Vic in Philadelphia. But I think the Niners might be pretty fortified here. Brown's going to be healthy at some point. Mustapha, I think, will be back before midseason. And then you've got a really deep core behind. Grant's a starter. Pinnock's a starter. Siegel's got starter potential. Odom's more of a special teamer, but I think you're fortified. And Pinnock is a very underrated player. I think Niner fans are going to love him. Saleh, you could tell, wanted him badly. Lynch is thrilled that they got him for a steal of a deal on the cap. And the Niners, I think, are well-positioned to lean on Jason Pinnock to start this year, and they'll be all right. If they have to lean on Pinnock and Grant, if Richie Grant and Jason Pinnock are their week 1 starters, I think the 49ers are going to be just fine. Just fine. All right, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krueg Show. Thanks to our good friends at Claw Daddy Arcades for sponsoring this video. They're a great follow at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. Make sure you check out their new location in Capitola Mall later on this year. They also open in Visalia Mall later on this year. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krueg Show. Throw a like and subscribe on your way out the door. And once again, thanks to you all for supporting the Krueg Show on YouTube.